Okay, hi. I'm making a video about the comprehension, and I would like for you guys to meet as a grade level just to discuss what you've noticed this week about the start reads. If I can find my downloads. So with the start reads, I know you have lesson plans that are already planned out. However, um, please make sure you're previewing those before. I think it was Perez who had a book, and the open ended questions were already taped on the page, I believe. So that way she didn't have to have the paper right there in front of her. The questions were already on the page. So that's just an idea. I know I've seen some people write the questions on a post it and just stick it on the page. So that way, when they got to the page, they were able to ask the questions then. But just going over the start reads, um, when you look at it with your grade level, it is K3 start read. It's just a framework. And this information does come from Cox Campus. You're more than welcome to do, I think it was like an hour and a half free PD if you would like. It supports the science of reading. And these start reads are good because it does tie in listening comprehension, which our students do need to train their auditory language, vocabulary, and language skills. And I know a couple teachers said they would just like to play it on the smartboard. However, I've seen most teachers reading to their students, and that is amazing because you're doing a lot of modeling during that time, and plus you're building those personal relationships during that read aloud. So you are supporting critical thinking here, building that imagination, which a lot of us students they're lacking. So when we do our first read, because you uh, do a total of three, and on the fourth day, you can choose an activity that just relates back to the story. But it's just an introduction. So, what I would like for you to do with your grade level is just look over the introduction. What does it entail, and so forth. Lesson two, your you have the building blocks of the brain, as they called it, with the read aloud. So you have some reflective questions here. And then the third lesson is where you have the K3 start read in action. So you just have some basic questions here. It says you'll introduce to the K, whatever grade you're working on. Start read strategy for read aloud to students. You'll learn how to use this strategy for the read aloud. And so you're going to look to see which strategy you're going to use. I think I walked in Miss Cook's class this week, and she was working on cause and effect. So that would be the strategy slash skill that they would be working on. You can do a lesson for. You don't have to. What I would suggest is that you tie in something fun and engaging, which is really what this lesson for is like beyond the read aloud. And it's just an engaging activity that just makes that read aloud fun and engaging. And what can you do to tie in a fun, engaging activity? I'm going to attach that. But where's my other? No, I've downloaded too many things. Great. Oh, here it is. Okay. So this is kind of like a little cheat sheet. So first read, you're pushing in the events. Second read, the thoughts and feelings. That's like that reflection. Third read, you're pulling out the events, the thoughts, the feelings, and the vocabulary. So you're kind of scaffolding the students as you're doing that reread, building that fluency, and so forth. START stands for state, title, author, purpose. Teach, you're using those think aloud strategies because a lot of times um, we have to model those strategies for students so that they learn them. Because I know I was guilty. I would just assume that the kids have the strategy and they know it, but they don't. We have to model so they can learn it. Pat the vocabulary, and I'm going to talk about that when we get to the lesson format, what that means. Ask open-ended questions, because if we just give them basic surface level questions like yes or no, that's not interactive. So we want them to actually do some uh, more in-depth thinking with open-ended questions. Respond, which is R. They're using complex sentences. Make sure they use correct grammar when they're answering back to you. So if they give you a one-word answer, have them repeat back in a full sentence. And try to have them use rich vocabulary. And then tie in, try to have them summarize the main idea, um, work in some type of transition to the next activity. All right, this is more in depth about the second start read. I was going to attach it just so you could see it. I'm not going to go over that. All right, let me find it. Okay, here we go. This is a blank lesson plan. You can develop your own with a higher level book if you wanted to. You don't have to use the lesson plans that I supplied to you from Cox Campus. You can use your own. And that's kind of what we did here. So if you see Miss Gibson and I, we were actually talking back and forth on this on the side. But I'm going to show you this lesson plan that we started. I'm not even sure if we finished it, because if you work as a grade level, you can actually develop your own lesson plans. If you decide that, hey, I don't like those stories, they're not rich enough for my students, so I want to choose a different one that they might be able to connect with. And so you guys can actually work together and build your own lesson plan. So here we actually did not have this particular story. I think on campus. Oh no, it was a tie-in. I'm sorry. And so we wanted something just to quickly tie in what the story was, and it was just a little Going Places song because just like I know, our students don't have a lot of background knowledge, and so this particular one was talking about we're going places, um, talking about just different places throughout a city or the country, like a beach, grocery store, and hospital, and so forth. You don't have to do those type of things, but a lot of our students, they just don't have that background knowledge, and the only way they're going to get them or get it is by seeing it and discussing it. So this particular story is called "What Can You Do with," I hope I say this right, Polita. Maddie said I'm saying it wrong. I don't know, but if I were reading the story, I would practice it over and over till I said it right. But the first read, I'm going to focus on events because it does say it right here. And it says to learn a tasty treat, Polita, and to learn about the characters or the characters in the neighborhood. And then my second, where I'm focusing on the thoughts and the feelings. So the purpose of that read would be to reread to discover more about the characters, the setting, and the events, which are key details. The third read, the children on this one are going to retell the story back to me. So remember, on that third read, you don't have to read it, the whole thing. You can actually have the students, if they look at the pictures, or you might could have someone tell you the beginning, someone tell you the middle, someone tell you the end. That is just the retell of the story. And then you have the main idea. It's fun to learn about different cultures in my neighborhood. Pat, this is how you can actually go through the vocabulary as you're reading the um, story. Pat stands for point to the pictures. A stands for act out the vocabulary, and I actually meant point to the picture of the vocabulary word. A is act out the word, and T stands for tell. So you're just basically given those child friendly definitions to those tier 2 words. And these are those words you want them to be able to use when they're speaking to their peers next to them, or whenever you ask them a question and they're talking back to you. And just a side note over here, it says it would be cool to have Polita for kids to see or try. What do you think? Miss Gibson said if I could get time to get to the store, yes. But that would be a good tie in. All right, so if you look, we just went through, found some vocabulary words. How could we tie in that multisensory where they could act it out? How could we point to it? So we have accordion. We know, we say, hey, this, and it has to be long, it does not have to be a long drawn out. Hey, this is an accordion, and you point to it. Accordion is a musical instrument, and then you could just act it out how you move the accordion, and you could have the students do it, and then go right back into the story, and then so forth. And so you'll see as it goes on here, like for example, page 16, 17, it has mustache. So you can explain this as a pretend mustache made by the Polita. A real mustache is hair that grows between the mouth and the nose. And as you're doing that, you can point to the page where they have a blue mustache on the girl, and you can have children use their fingers to pantomime having mustaches. So that's what point, act, and tell is. That's how you want to get them interacting with that lesson. Here, it just says have children mimic when you slurp, sip, munch, or gobble. Focus vocabulary when we're thinking out loud. We have culture, appreciate. Those are definitely higher level words. And here come the questions that I would definitely put inside the book so I don't have to hold the paper. If you type it out, you actually can print just this page, tape them inside the book if you would like. So that way you have them whenever they're there and you get to that page, or you could put it on a post it. This is just an idea, so I would like for you just to read through it. Whatever lesson you're doing next week, go ahead and pre plan. Do you like the questions that are being asked? Are they low level? Do you need to up the level? Do you like the vocabulary for your students? Do you need to make any changes? What are you going to do on that day 4? How are you going to support your EL babies if you have any? What, do you have any questions for me? Do you need any more support? I hope this is helpful, just going over the start plan, because I think this definitely would be a good area for you all to plan with your team tomorrow. I know it is for next week, but it would be good just to go through a lesson, talk about it, and see how you are doing with the comprehension section. All right, if you have any questions, just let me know. Thanks.